Hello one and all, and welcome to Behind the Glass, your weekly automotive podcast hosted by two rather uninformed enthusiasts.
No.
I'm Sam from the YouTube channel Seen Through Glass.
I'm Tony from Gravelwood Car Sales.
And you can watch us each week. We hope you enjoy the episode. Did you see Paul Wallace bought a supercar?
Yeah, I saw it. Well, hold on a minute.
What?
He bought a car. That is not a supercar. That's in the same category as your 360, mate.
Hey. Well, then it's definitely a supercar. I mean, where did this come from? Out of nowhere.
I spent some money.
Super hatchbacks of Saxtons. Suddenly.
Super SUVs.
Super SUV. I mean, bravo. Obviously, Paul will be coming back on the show soon enough for...
Not too soon,
but for a Car Park Chats episode. So we're going to quiz him all about this. But literally... Yeah, out of nowhere, last night just posted this. I bought a cheap Audi R8, so we're back to Supercars of London.
Well, I mean, to be fair to him, we get updated on the process all the time on the group. I'm doing this and I'm going to do that. I mean, he just sort of said, well, I've bought this.
But what's insane is, as you say, for the last 2.5 years...
Surprised he'd actually paid money for it.
Yeah, well, there you go. The last 2.5 years, he has bored our socks off.
Yeah.
Do you think I should buy this? What about this? This is quite good. Just to the point where we both ignore him.
Just buy a car, Paul.
And he just did. He just went and bought a car. So if you haven't seen, head over, Supercars London. He's bought a supercar, or as Tony, what would you call it then? A sports car, would you call it?
A car.
No, come on. It's the V10 R8.
Yeah,
that's a proper engine.
With a shifter thing that you got. Gated gearbox.
A manual.
Yeah, stupid.
Oh my God. We're still on that.
Yeah.
2023, you're still anti the manuals.
Yeah. Mind you, I will say.
Oh God, here we go.
No, we're talking about manuals.
Yeah.
You cannot believe, if I could have 10 of these cars, nothing special. Yesterday, the weekend, I put a manual 3-door Golf GTI on.
Wow, which generation?
7.5.
Right.
So, first of the 7.5s, 2017, but a one-owner car with 9,000 miles on it from new.
Sounds lovely.
I sold it in an hour.
In an hour?
Because it was a manual 3-door.
I mean, the dream. That's what I'd be looking for.
Not interested.
Is that a club sport? What sport was that?
It's like...
It's just a manual 3-door.
It's just a manual 3-door. It was a standard car, apart from the Pretorias, in black. I knew I was going to sell it because go and find another one. There ain't another one. And but I didn't realise I'd sell it that quick. I mean, I sold it literally in an hour.
You should put up for 10 grand more than you are.
Well, I would never have sold it.
Well, maybe you would have. Who knows?
But yeah, that's another trick, actually, that people always say that. And we always think, flipping, I should put more money. Should have put that up at more money. But you wouldn't have sold it at more money. So we sold it at the right money.
I'm sure you're right, because this is
no money off.
Boom. Out the door.
Gone.
See you later.
An hour.
But
10 grand in a Golf. It's lovely. For an hour's work, it's unbelievable.
But if you'd waited 24 hours, could you have made a little bit more money?
Well, if I'd have put it up for more money, yeah. But who knows? The phone might not have rang another grand more or 500 quid more.
Oh, I'd have put it up 5 grand more. Manual 3-door, rare. Only one in the UK. That's literally, if I started a dealership, everything
would be bust.
The only Merlin Purple. Super rare. Buy it now.
Yeah.
But okay, well, a cool sounding car. I get lost with the Golfs.
Why?
Because Mark IV was my generation. Mark V, I'm like, I'm big and bulbous. And then I'm like, I don't really know what happens after that.
No, the 7 and the 7.5 are like, I think they're the sweet spot.
That's literally what I was about to ask. So those are the ones.
I think that's the sweet spot.
We're on the 8 now, right?
We're on 8, which is a bit of a dull instrument.
But the 7 and the 7.5, what was the difference between the 7 and the 7.5?
Not a lot.
Bit of a facelift, basically.
Yeah, digital dash and a few other bits and pieces, but 10 horsepower difference or something in terms of power. But I think they're good cars, them.
And the GTI over the R, or it's such a hard one, isn't it?
Someone literally asked me this the other day.
Yeah.
Would you have a GTI over an R? It's the same car. One's front wheel drive and one's 4-wheel drive. Because don't forget, the 4-wheel drives on these 300 horsepower hot hatches, they're electric. It's an electric front wheel drive. It's not a proper 4-wheel drive system. It's not like on an SUV. It's an electric diff. So it's 2-wheel drive, really.
And power-wise, between GTI and R in that generation?
60 horsepower difference.
Okay.
240 and 300.
Could you get a
Ish.
manual R?
No.
No. Okay, so
Well, you could back in the day, but you can't now.
yeah, that's
It's
saying that.
not a thing now.
Well, talking of back in the day manual R's, and actually we got two cars to talk about in this section. Firstly, did you see the R32, the Mark IV R32? I am so angry about this. I think it was on Bring a Trailer. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, I hope you're the second car we're going to talk about.
Yeah, you know which one it is.
Good boy.
But both of us are going to be really... we're both kicking ourselves today, I think. Because,
Really?
Well, so the 97-mile Volkswagen Golf R32 sold in America. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, guess how much?
97 miles.
So brand delivery mileage, literally delivery mileage.
V6.
Untouched Mark IV VW Golf R32. The boxy shape.
3-door.
The 3-door, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. 100 grand.
$104,000.
Yeah, I mean,
104. I have been talking about these cars for the last 3 years.
yeah.
Why haven't I bought one? I don't know. I mean,
Because you ain't got 100 grand.
No, nor would I want a 97-mile version. I'm jumping on Auto Trader right now. Shout out Auto Trader.
Why don't they sponsor us, Auto Trader?
Because you know who's better? eBay Motors. I'll just leave that like that. So hold on a sec. Golf model variant. Is it on R32? Does that come up on here? Yeah, R32. Okay, fine. So what's the most expensive Mark IV R32? 40 grand. Someone stuck one up at.
What miles?
39,000 miles.
What miles?
39.
Oh, you should buy that. It's cheap. If one's just sold for $100,000. No,
There's one at 66,000 miles, which is 18 grand. I mean, but these were 4 grand when I started talking about them. 4 or 5 grand when I started talking about them. Another one with 68,000 miles at 15 grand.
But realistically, mate, where are they going to stop? I mean,
Well, apparently $104,000.
yeah, but that's a one-off delivery mile car. I mean,
Which was like that Clio.
yeah. I mean, it's a real one-off. You know, that's bought because it is a one-off, and it's never going to be driven.
But mate, what about the generation before, the Peugeot rallies, the
205 GTI.
205 GTIs? What else has been going
Renault 5
crazy?
turbos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The little hot hatches from yesteryear.
Escort RS turbos.
That have flown.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't an R32, if it's fetching $104,000 for a delivery mileage car now, surely a 30,000 mile car in another 5 years is going to be 60, 70 grand?
Oh, I don't know.
The thing is, they're not that great, but I think for my generation, what a special car. Like, it was really a beastly hatchback, and I would have one. I've missed the boat. I waited too long, and also I would have one as a collector. I'm not going to literally drive around in it. I would drive it like once or twice a year. I just wanted to have it just to be like, I got it. Because when I was 16, I was like, that was my dream car, and now I've got one. I've completed life. But whilst I'm kicking myself about R32,
Oh, mate, please.
you must be kicking yourself about Sierra Cosworth.
Well, I can tell you a story. I mean, that was that car that I even posted that car, reposted it yesterday on my story. It made £560,000 or dollars.
£596,000.
That is, I mean, it was a really, because it's an RS 500, right?
It was an RS 500.
Right. So they are rare. But let me tell you a little story about one of them cars.
It only had 5,000 miles on the clock. Anyway,
Fair enough. I nearly bought one of them cars when I was a kid, and I bought the Subaru instead because the RS 500 at the time had done a bit more miles. It was quite a lot more money. All I cared about was going fast, and the Subaru was faster. But it was only probably 20 or 25 grand back then. The Subaru was loads cheaper, and I thought, I didn't really have the money to buy the Sierra. But hindsight, eh?
Oh my God.
I mean, you cannot. And how does that justify being that money, that car? So when you think, I mean, rarity, yes. And someone, I saw actually a couple of DMs commenting on the when I reposted it, and they said, "You think a GR Yaris will ever go up I mean, it's not as too. They made 25,000. The RS500, they didn't make many of them, so it is a rare
tells us
car.
how many here? It's like what, 1,500 or something like that.
No, it would have been. I think it's less than that, mate.
Okay.
Because the other car in that generation that they really didn't make many of was the Lotus Colton.
Okay, sure. Yes.
So I mean, that's another one.
It's around 400.
Yeah. So it's really rare. I mean, that's
fair. It's rarer than a LaFerrari.
Yeah, it's rarer than
499.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like when you look at 458 Apertas, they're 700 grand now. I mean, for a delivery mileage car.
950 Lotus Carltons, I think maybe left is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Oh no, were completed. 950 were complete. I mean, you're right. There are a ton of cars from that generation that had been overlooked for a long time that are now starting to fetch silly money at auctions. And how often do people reach out to you saying, I'm looking to invest in a car, or I'm thinking about buying a classic, what should I get?
All the time.
If we knew the answer, we would be very rich. Because my analysis of it as a non-expert in the collecting world is it really comes down to one or two people becoming very enthusiastic about a specific mark or model.
You just have to find that man, and that's the case with all cars in general. You've got to find the man. But in my end of the market, in the newer stuff, there's a lot of men. There's a lot of audience essentially. With a classic car, it's not my market anyway. I understand it obviously, but it's. How can you word it? You've really got to be patient. And as well, you can put the car up for whatever you like. Unless you find that man. I mean, you could have it 2 years, 3 years. But the auction's slightly different because obviously they market it. And Silverstone Auction are very good at doing that, by the way, don't they? They do a good job, to be fair to them. I mean, they've done a fantastic job in selling that car and getting that money for that car. I mean, it was eye-watering the amount of money that car received. But
the thing is, you're talking about it. If you're going to go out there and buy something and stick it away and just hold on and wait. My point being, you can't really predict what's going to fly because
no one can.
At any one time, something might look like. For example, Sierra Cosworths, as you say, not only when they came out were they cheap, forever were overlooked. They weren't sitting there at, this car's going to be worth 600 grand at some point. Yeah. You could have said the same about Carrera GTs and F40s at a certain stage. Yeah. You could definitely say the same about 250 GTOs. You know, there was a time when they were just ex-race cars and no one cared. Yeah. And so it is very hard, but what tends to happen is I think a generational thing where obviously that's a car of your generation.
Yeah.
As more and more people get disposable income within your generation, they start to go after cars that were their dream cars or poster cars growing up. And then all it takes is 3 or 4 people within that space starting to spend lots of money on cars, trying to hunt down the best example, find the best example, pushing up money. Because that's what it is. Just people have just gone nuts. That's a 5,000 mile car. People have just gone. I think the estimate was 150 grand.
Which would have been a lot of money for that then.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I wish we had the, what's it called? Mirror ball? The glass ball? What's it called? What's it called? The mystic ball when you.
I know what you mean, but I don't know what it's called either.
I wish we had the ability
to speak.
To see. Yes. But to see into the future.
Yeah.
And
crystal ball.
God! And work out what's going to be the next future classic. Maybe we do, because as I said, I've been talking about R32 Golfs for a while. I should have just sucked it up and bought one.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my prediction. I know we did this recently, a topic of future classics. I think the Volvo,
the R thing,
750R.
Yeah, I mean that's a car of my era. I was at the 90s, but yeah, that was. It was old police car. And I'll tell you another car.
850R.
850R. I'll tell you another car that I had as well, which I did make some money on. But again, I wish I'd kept it now. Is that Escort Cosworth I had?
Yeah.
I mean, I give 12 grand for that car, probably 10 or 12 years ago, and I kept it for 6 or 7 years, and I got 25 grand for it. I doubled my money. But now they're 50 or 60 grand.
Ridiculous, right?
And that's only, and I probably only sold that car 4 or 5 years ago. So they've gone up, they've doubled again from 4 or 5 years ago.
I am going to be philosophical about this and say, buy the cars that you like and you dream of and enjoy them. And if they go up, well done. If you're really getting into it as an investor, it's just as much as a gamble as any other. I know the returns can be fantastic, but it's like investing into art. It's like investing into jewelry, wine. There's always a risk. There's always a bit of a gamble. You can try and make calculated guesses. But as I say, I think on a monthly basis, I speak to people who had F40s and sold them at 150 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really predict it, and you've just got to kind of go with the flow of the times. And as I say, if you're really trying to be a collector, then do your research, but you're taking as much of a punt as...
I'll tell you another thing as well, being someone that's in the job, what goes up must come down. And we've seen it before where... No. We've seen it before where cars do that, and it's a trend. It's where do I put my money? Yeah, it has more highlighted over the last 4 or 5 years. But where does the bloke go that's just give nearly 600 grand for a Sierra? What are you telling me, that car's going to be £1 million in 10 years' time?
Yeah, so it's hard to understand his position. Has he bought that because that's his dream car?
We don't know.
The one that he wants, the ultimate version. And also...
Fair play to him.
It is 2023. We should say it could be a woman. Like, I just, we have a lot of...
Could be a kid, mate.
We have a female audience, and I don't want you to feel left out.
2 of them.
3. So hold on a sec. So we don't know the person's intentions. I agree. If they're buying it as an investment, you're like, well, it's punchy because it feels like you've overpaid massively. But maybe they know something we don't. But in general, I don't agree with your what goes up must come down. I think in the sub 500k part of the market, agreed, things fluctuate a lot. But when you're talking about close to £1 million plus collector grade cars, there's difference. You might have some fluctuation in the market, but a Carrera GT is not going to come back down to 500 grand. That's not going to happen.
Well, you might have said that about lots of cars previously that have gone up and come down.
Give me an example of something that has gone up, not a TDF, that has gone up to £1 million and come back down, a collector grade car that has...
Well, that was one of them.
Yeah, but that's a bad example because that went to £1 million as it launched, as in like overs, like demand is overs. I'm talking about a car that over time has appreciated as a classic investment.
Yeah. There was the Enzos come back and they've gone back up again for sure.
So hold on a sec. What would you say they went up and down at?
I think a good Enzo back in the day would have been, nearly 2 million. Then they went down to like 1.6, and then they're like 2.5 now. Yes, laughs as well come off and went back up again, and that is for sure. That definitely happened.
But they're not the. Okay, so hold on a second, because we're talking a lot about modern cars here.
Well,
Enzo, not so much. Yeah. But I don't quite agree on the Enzo.
I can tell you another one as well. The Ford GT was another one. The first one, that was another one. Went up, come back down, went up again.
But that's what I mean, because the
Alpha, stupid
you have initial
thing.
You have initial demand, which is different. You like an STO. You get the initial overs, cools off, goes back up.
That's a bad example.
I'm talking about, for example, 250 short wheelbase, Pagani Zonda. Pagani Zonda is even a bad example, but proper investment grade stuff. Like not supercars that I want to buy just now. I know it's overinflated. I'm going to wait for it to come down. Oh, it's gone back up. Like I'm talking about long term.
But investment, most of it, mate, is just speculating. So what they do is they buy them low. That's why people buy. They buy stuff low, and then the demand goes up, and then the prices go up. Speciali's another good one, by the way.
What? Yeah, but again, I hold on a sec. I'll come back to that. I just want to say, Haggerty, why'd you put your bloody market analysis tools behind a paywall? I mean, I know why, because you're not going to get me to sign up and pay. It's just annoying. Look, you're not wrong. I totally get where you're coming from. I think in my mind, I'm just talking about there's a difference between supercar trade values and the buying and selling of supercars and collector grade cars.
But it's all speculation. Everything is speculation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there'll be someone in here who'll be a trader in Muras and original pre-war Alphas and things like that, who will say that they fluctuate too. But I think my point being that some cars go and never come back. Do you know what I mean? Like
some.
Of
course. We'd always have an example of some, but the Speciale one I think is a good example because they couldn't give them away new, as in the last ones they were giving money off. Then they shot through the roof. Then they come back down. They went back up. Then they come back down again, and then they've gone back up again. So, and they're 7 or 8 year old now, and that will end up being a an iconic classic car.
Agreed. Yeah.
Can you see that at £1 million delivery mile, one of them?
A Pert is already almost there, aren't
They're
they?
7 something.
Yeah.
700 grandish.
I don't see them coming back down. Standard Speciale, it's hard to say.
It's a numbers game as well, by the way. So, as cars go on and they get written off and things change in terms of the numbers of cars. I mean, a Speciale, there was 3,000 or 4,000 of them made from the Ferrari never tell you the exact amount, but there was 3,000 or 4,000 of them made. There won't be now because half of them have probably been crashed. And then and then after that, you've then got the delivery mile cars that no one's ever driven, that no one's ever seen. They've not been on market. What are they worth? Yeah. So I always think that classic car market is always driven by speculation, and it's like a trend.
Yeah, well, go on. Sorry.
And if you get in at the right time, and you've rung the bell, and you get out at the right time, and the car's up, then great. Houses are exactly the same. By the way,
it's any investment. It's any investment. I mean, it's Bitcoin. I mean, it's any investment.
Just don't get in.
Yeah, to Bitcoin. Anyway, moving on. Did you see a story that was doing the rounds and got a little bit of traction on Twitter, I think at the end of last week, which was that some insurers are now refusing to insure Range Rovers in London?
Well, I've been hearing that for some time, mate, by the way.
Well, it happened to my dad. Obviously, I think it's a sort of well-known story or often told story on this podcast that my dad had Range Rover Sports, was living in central London and had 3 nicked in a row. Yeah. And for the third car, they said, I'm sorry, we now refuse to insure you. Yeah, he had to go through various, first like, now you've got to put a tracker on, now you've got to have a steering wheel lock, now you've got to put, and then at the end it was like, well, if it's not in an underground secure car park, we refuse to insure you. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, there was some traction because people were saying, I don't quite believe this is true, this can't be true, and
it's definitely true.
But as I say, for sure, I know it's true, and the story was written by journalists who had obviously found out that it was true. But my question being, is this fair? Let's talk about why it's come about, and where do we go from here if you can not get your car insured? If you live in a city and you're buying £100,000 car and no one will insure it, what does that mean for us moving forward?
Well, first of all, yes, it's completely fair. Because whilst you do pay your premiums for these cars, obviously insurance is a business. So if it feels that a car is more of a liability and it's costing them more money than it's getting in, then yeah, they'll pull the plug. The fault lies with Land Rover. Sort it out. You're the manufacturer, because what's going to happen is no one will, I mean, it's already starting to happen now. People don't buy them anymore, because I've got customers that literally do not buy Range Rovers, one for liability, and they're one of my favourite cars in general. Range Rover. Yeah. We've said that so many times.
We both really want a big Range Rover.
Yeah.
We both really want one.
It's an amazing bit of kit, but the general mass public get pissed off. We're spending 130, 140 grand on this car that's mostly in the garage, or it's been stolen. So that's Land Rover's fault. That's not the insurance company's fault or the person that's bought it. Land Rover got to sort their security system out, because I have a bit of a conspiracy around cars being, because it's not all manufacturers that suffer with the problem. Mercedes have got a big problem, by the way, with their keyless entry AMG stuff that gets nicked all the while. But they must be getting the security systems on the cars, the keyless entry security systems on the cars, are either so easy to crack that they're just letting them get on with it. And actually, from a manufacturer point of view, yeah, let's let these cars all get stolen, because it means we can just make some more. So there's that conspiracy theory. The other theory is that the thieves are being sold the information from someone. It's like an inside job, which I think that's what's happening. someone, because there's some manufacturers that it's not a thing. You can't, it's mostly Mercedes and Land Rover.
Which is, hey, look, I love a conspiracy. I'm not going to knock either. But you're right. It's bizarre that it happens to be specific brands and models. But the crazier thing is, Range Rovers specifically, I think are most often, well, if you go around central London, if it's not a Rolls-Royce Ghost, it's a Range Rover these days. So if most people feels like lots of Range Rover owners or customers are having their cars in the city centre, and now insurers are saying, well, we're not actually going to insure you to have a car in a city centre, is that market falling out from underneath Land Rover's eye? Like, as you said, they've got to fix it, but this has been going on for
years,
if not a decade.
But it obviously hasn't affected their sales figures. But no sooner it does, then they'll do something about it. But it might be too late.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, we've seen the clips and we've seen everything on social media. It takes less than a minute to nick a Range Rover from a laptop without the key.
Insane.
I mean, that is a joke.
So I smacked my side. I hit my microphone and it sort of flew across the table. I was like, where are you
across
going?
the room.
Yeah, I was like, oh, come back. Sorry, that got
I mean, when you can nick 100, it's too easy for the Vs.
Yeah, it's too easy.
It's too easy for them.
And so, and you don't hear anything else about Audi's VW Group, nothing like that?
Well, on the list of most stolen cars in the country, obviously Range Rover.
Do you want to factually check this?
Well, factually check, but I'm going to say it out loud because I won't be far off.
I'm sure
I never am. So Range Rover will be there.
Yeah.
Audi S3 and Golf R are in there, and AMG Mercedes.
Okay, so this is the UK's most stolen cars. I love this. Range Rover Sport, Range Rover Autobiography, Land Rover Discovery, Range Rover Vogue, BMW X5.
Okay, fair.
Range Rover Evoque, Mercedes-Benz E-Class.
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz GL, Mercedes-Benz S-Class, Mercedes-Benz GLC, and then Audi A4 and BMW M3.
BMW M3.
I'm guessing that's not new. I bet that's an old generation M3.
Well, it should be because most of them are not keyless entry. Not all the M3s are keyless entry cars.
So this is a different article. This is from last year. E-Class 800 were stolen last year. Vauxhall Astra 1,000 were stolen. Vauxhall Corsa 1,200. Land Rover Discovery 1,200. BMW 3 Series 1,400. C-Class Mercedes 1,400. Volkswagen Golf 1,700. Ford Focus 1,900. Range Rover 3,754.
Yeah.
But topping the list, according to whatcar.com, Ford Fiesta 3,900 stolen.
But fair.
That's a joke between number 2, Range Rover 3,700, to number 3.
Yeah.
It's the Ford Focus at 1,900. Anyway, yes, long story short, you are essentially right, but there are a few other models in there. But hey, as you say, it's something that I guess potential customers or owners are going to be considering more and more because we all need to have our cars insured in the UK. And so if you can't get insurance, you're going to have to be thinking about that. But let me just touch on what you said about reliability for a second, because obviously just took my F-Type down to Switzerland on a big European adventure. Plenty more main channel content to come from that trip. On my first day, I bumped into ex-STG HQ landlord Merlin from the Duke of London.
Oh!
And he was in his Testarossa.
What are you doing?
He was in his Testarossa heading down to the Ice San Moritz, the event that I was attending. I can talk more about that in a second, actually. I love the Testarossa to look at, but we know it's a dog to drive.
That's the worst Ferrari ever.
And he came past at, I will give it to him, probably 2 kilometers over the speed limit. I mean, he was moving, and I was like, brave man. So I flashed him down and we stopped for a coffee, and we were catching up. How's the car? He's like, clutch is almost gone. The brakes are juddery. Like, sounds like hell.
Mate.
Sounds like hell.
Oh, hell.
So I said, good luck getting there. And he goes, well, it's quite mad that you've got more chance getting there in a JLR product than me in a Testarossa.
Well, that's not mad.
And I said, hold on a second. Can I just say, in all of my F-Type experiences, ownership and experiences, I have never once had a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we've sold a lot of F-Types down the years, and they've all been as good as gold.
Yeah.
in general.
This JLR bashing for reliability, I understand. Oh, sorry, there goes my WhatsApp. I understand that there could be I was about to say WhatsApp. There could be a electronic glitches with big Range Rovers. And
It's
things
Land
like
Rovers,
that,
yeah, it's Range
and
Rover.
Land Rovers. But on the Jaguar side, always been rock solid.
Yeah.
And actually, let's use that as a segue to talk about the trip very quickly. I had a brilliant time with the Jag. Been a while since I've taken it on a big trip. Absolutely loved it. The car performs so well on that kind of journey. I didn't take the GT3 because obviously now it's running. I kind of want to get it back on the summer tyres, and I want the next trip to be somewhere dry and fun, not like straight back to the snow again.
Flat out.
Flat out, exactly, which I do have planned.
Which you won't be doing either because it's a manual.
I'll be flat out in a manual. Just might not be as quick as you in a PDK.
Might not.
Might not. But anyway, so and also I said it was the perfect trip for the F-Type. It was 2,000 or 2,100 miles in 4 days, something like that. I just wanted to bash it out. The car's ace. I've removed the active exhaust fuse. So from the fuse box, just removed the active exhaust fuse.
So you made it worse.
No, transformed the character of that car. It's back to being an old F-Type.
Yeah, you just made it like it just
Loud.
screams.
Just sounds amazing.
Barks
Always.
all the time.
Always. Sounds incredible. Did some good twisties. Messing around with the traction control. Look at me, slip is sliding. Like, oh, man, I love that car. Like, I just love it. And it turned out to be a great trip. So, also bumped into Shmi in his SF90.
You said that.
Yeah, which with his dodgy roof box.
You said that as well.
And made our way to this event, the Ice San Moritz.
Lovely.
So, this is or was essentially like the Hampton Court Concours d'Elegance, or not even maybe Salon Privé. Trying to think of relevant UK events, but it's a fancy event on ice. Except there wasn't a lot of ice.
A lot of cars.
Yeah, none that you would like. It was all really niche 20s to 60s stuff.
Oh no.
Yeah, big collector stuff, but really, really niche.
And you drove 2,000 miles for that.
There was something else that I was doing which I can't talk about.
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah.
All I'll say is it was in Italy. I'll leave it at that.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
And I have already talked about it on this podcast, but I then have since signed paperwork saying I'm no longer allowed to talk about it. So anyway, that's coming soon at some point. So that's really why I went, and then I bolted on the Ice San Moritz.
Just something to do.
Exactly. Well, I thought if I'm driving past it, I might as well stop off and check it out. Yeah.
Was it worth stopping?
Well.
Unless you saying it.
I'm actually really flapping because I went with the intention to make a video. And this year, people will have noticed I'm on this one video a week trajectory for the meantime, so I can really plug in a maximum effort for each video, and it's how I prefer to do things. And it was an interesting event because, as I say, there wasn't a lot of ice, so I was genuinely terrified at any point we could all go crashing through the thin layer of ice into the freezing lake below. Luckily, it didn't quite happen, but at any time it could. There were so many people. There was music constantly. So I don't know if I've got a video, but I need one. So it's this really weird conundrum that I'm too nervous to look back at the footage because it was so hard to film at. Firstly, the on-track, on-ice driving was kind of non-eventful because there were so many holes and divots and puddles and lakes that couldn't really happen. It was very clicky. Do you know what I mean by that? Very like them and us.
I know exactly
the
what you
real
mean.
old boys club. Like we all know each other. And look, I had loads of friends there, and I knew lots of people who were super nice, but it was very much like cigars, amazing outfits, high-end fashion, expensive cars, lots of ropes.
So you saw yourself in 30 years' time?
Literally. I sort of liked it as a thing, as a sort of people watching. It was kind of fascinating. Like everyone was so elegant and kind of beautiful and stylish and well dressed, and the cars were, but it was like, whoa, like where am I? Like it didn't feel very real life-ish. There were a few new cars, one of which I want to talk about. The new Maserati Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah, they sorted that out.
Well, I did sort of slightly hope that I was going to be able to get behind the wheel of it, but it was static only. Obviously, we should say sort of new, almost with, what's called inverted commas.
Yeah, because it won't be new.
Well, and it doesn't look that new, but I kind of think that's a good thing.
Right.
It's
like the F-Type.
Yes, but dare I say it better? Because I think the old Gran Turismo, which obviously overstayed its welcome, one of the best looking cars of the last 10 or 15 years.
Oh, I don't know about one of the best sounding.
You don't think it's a pretty car?
No, it's a great big barge, mate. It's a stupid car. It just goes on and on and on. Yeah, I don't think it's particularly a good looking car.
Oh, okay.
I think it sounds amazing. One of the best sounding cars. Definitely that.
Definitely best sounding. But I always thought it was a pretty car. And so it feels like they've just sharpened it up and modernised it. All new interior, which had to happen.
Of course.
But then they've got rid of the juicy engine. So it's a detuned MC20 engine.
Oh, no.
Which we know is like the deadest engine in the world, apart from, if you ask Evo.
Car of the year.
The most exciting engine ever. Sounds amazing. No, guys, it does not. Like, it legitimately does not sound good.
Yeah.
So that disappoints me because I'm like, they've done everything great except got rid of the greatest part of that car. So I kind of really want to have a go in one.
Oh, I'm not
but it's
interested.
all the money. It's all the money.
How much?
I think it starts at 180. I think.
180.
I'm pretty sure.
No.
For the Trofeo. Let me see.
What, with a silly engine in it?
Yeah.
That is a. I'll try not to swear.
Here we go. The Italian configurator reveals the Gran Turismo Modena will be available from 181,000.
Oh no.
While pricing for the hot Trofeo is 226,000 euros.
Yeah, no chance.
I mean,
what is all that about, mate?
Terrifying, right? Well, it's Maserati trying to rebrand themselves
into what? Ferrari?
A bit more of a luxury premium. And like, I get it, MC20, like there's a new vibe to them.
Does anyone buy them cars? The MC20?
I don't think so. And at that money, I mean, that is a stretch. Like, that is such a stretch, isn't it? So 200 grand plus options for a car that everyone will think is
crap.
Well, the old one. And then, I don't know.
So you have one of them or a Bentley?
Yeah, or like 4 other cars. Or just buy the old one and then a Lamborghini Huracan. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, anyway, so a shame, but exciting at the same time. I really do want to have a go, but I just think it's really hard to justify at that kind of price. What else was knocking around that I saw? They had Silly Pagani, Huayra Kudl, some 7 million euro. I was like, whatever. I saw a lot of new RS3s in that part of the world.
It's a bit unenthusiastic from you.
Mate, it was... Huayra, I love looking at a plain Huayra, I think is beautiful. This was a long tail, slightly fugly version at 7 million euros.
Says who it's 7 million?
Pagani. Yeah,
that's what they're charging.
No, apparently it was a one-of-one built for a specific customer.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it turns up at all these events.
And he's give 7 million for it.
Apparently.
Okay.
I think Zondas are like that. I think Zondas are like 10 mil now.
Yeah, madness, yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, loads of RS3s knocking around, which look good, and loads of M3 Tourings knocking around.
Good.
So like 4 or 5 M3 Tourings in that part of the world, which was they all looked pretty good, to be honest. But yeah, so anyway, I guess there'll be a video coming at the end of the week on that event, because I've got nothing else to substitute it with, which is a bit of a fail, but it was an odd one. It was an odd one. Anyway, not much more to say about that.
So what are you going to do then?
Well,
do you want to have a run around a car park?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Before I get to the airport.
Do a quick vlog.
Do car park spotting at Heathrow. But yeah, I'm off to the airport straight after this for a big adventure, which was...
Can you talk about that?
I don't think I can. It's a real mess, my life at the moment. I'm in between all these things. This is what I don't really want to do too much of this year, is the embargoed stuff, because it's such a bore, because we can't talk about it here on the podcast. Yeah. We have to wait weeks and weeks, but it's good. It's a worthwhile trip for everything that we wanted to be discussing this year. So next week, I can talk about it next week probably. So stay tuned on that. Lots that will be able to be discussed. But apart from that, the trip was, I say, largely successful because of the Jag. No problems. Absolutely fantastic. But in the video that went live yesterday, I did mention the fact that, well, the elephant in the room about my garage, I got these 3 two-door sports cars, 2-seat sports cars.
Stupid.
That at some point I'm going to have to change up. And I should have admitted that probably at the moment, the F-Type is the one that I would consider letting go of first. But then I get back from a trip like the one I just did, and I'm like, it's the last thing I want to do is get rid of this car. Bloody marvellous.
Oh, I think the Ferrari's got to go.
No, mate. Ferrari's going nowhere.
Mate, you just sit and look. I mean, you've done everything you've got to do in that car now.
I'm never getting rid of it. I would only ever replace it with a Challenge Stradale. At which point it's the same thing. It's another 2-seat sports car. What's the point? What about the GT3?
Well, you won't be able to sell that.
Not I want to. I haven't done anything with it yet. So that's what I mean. Like, if you look at the three of them, 360 I'm just never selling. You don't understand what it means to have a sentimental value in a car, but it's just that car's too much. GT3, I've driven it on one trip, so there's no way that's going anywhere no time soon. And whilst I'm not looking to do this till probably towards the end of the year, I still wouldn't have done enough with the GT3 by then. So, and then the F-Type, I'm like, I do a trip like that, I don't want to get rid of it, but I'm like, but maybe that's the one that needs to move. I don't know.
But you've just used it last week.
And loved it. Or do I put back seats in the GT3? I don't know, Tony. Lots to figure out and try and...
But then you're going to pile miles on the... I mean, for what you done last week...
Yeah.
If I had to pick what car to take, I'd have definitely took the F-Type.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to take the GT3, what you just done. No
well,
chance.
I could have,
You
but
could.
But the F-Type is just made for that kind of trip.
Of course, it's what it's for.
Perfect. All-wheel drive, comfy,
Yeah.
heated seats, all the,
Really loud because you've made it worse.
No, it's so good. If anyone gets the new shape F-Type, just
take the fuse out.
Just take the fuse out. But anyway, yeah, there is a big update video coming on Jag and F-Type in general in a couple of weeks' time. So lots in the can, lots in the canister.
You just said you're not going to sell it.
No, but there's something else. Anyway.
Oh.
It's so annoying. This is what I mean. I hate all this kind of like secretive embargo. It's so frustrating, but I guess that's the way of the life. Last thing I want to touch on very quickly before we wrap up. New X5 and X6 got unveiled.
Yeah.
X5 X6M.
Load of money.
Yeah, 126 grand, I think.
Yeah.
All the money.
Yeah, they all are now, though.
But that's exactly it, right?
Everything.
Like, I think we've all just got to get used to cars becoming more and more expensive.
Well, this is the road they've chose to go down for now because they can't make as many cars as they normally used to make. So they put the price
everything up.
Of course.
And the thing is, you sit there and you look at it individually and go, how can I justify paying 130 grand once you put a couple of options on it?
Monthly payment.
It's a monthly payment, firstly, and then also everything else is the same. So it's not like one outlier has gone insane and just overpriced their car. Everyone's more expensive, so
they've all done it. Yeah,
it's got to suck it up. Like
they've all put the price up.
If you want that kind of car, that's how much you got to spend.
Yeah, they're all exactly the same. They've all gone up, and the last couple of years, COVID was an excuse for it. New cars have just gone through the roof, and they've just used COVID as an excuse.
Yeah, and now they're all going to stay up.
Yeah. Well, they might come back down once they start making more of them again.
Well, and also we have to wait for the interest rates to start dropping back down as well, because that's going to make monthly payments a bit more attractive.
Well, we've got inflation to come down first, but yeah.
Brilliant.
That's not happening this year.
No,
but, all right.
lovely, doom and gloom. And then I guess the last thing we should touch on, first Grand Prix of the week, Grand Prix of the year at the weekend.
Not interested.
Really?
No, I don't think I am. I mean, I know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
Verstappen will win.
Who's going to come second?
Who cares? I'm going to watch the football.
Oh,
instead.
Your team beat my team, by the way.
Well, it's not really your team,
my
is it?
team,
It's just the one closest to your house.
Up the Blues.
Up the You've got good ironing as well.
So you're not, because you don't like Verstappen?
No, because I only like F1 particularly when it's competitive. It's like I only watch high-level grade football. I don't watch lower league football because...
But you told me the other day you watch every match, so Watford versus...
No. Every Premier League and Champions League, all the high level.
So
Watford are in the Championship.
Well, who is in the relegation zone of the Premier League this year?
Everton, Southampton and Bournemouth.
So would you watch Bournemouth versus Southampton?
Yeah, because it's
Would you?
Because it's competitive.
Okay, so then what about the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th in the Grand Prix? Because that's competitive.
Well, that's boring though.
So is Bournemouth versus Southampton.
Because that's
two crap teams.
That will be the difference between one of them staying up and going down. Nothing.
Okay, fine.
There's no relegation or promotion.
So the
F1,
a generic mid-table match between two uncompetitive, on-form teams in the Premier League. Like, to me, that is death. Like, I don't know the Premier League well enough to tell you those two teams.
Yeah.
But I agree, when one driver is dominating F1, very bad for the spectacle of the sport. And we are all expecting Red Bull and Verstappen to dominate this year. Let's hope we're wrong, but that's what we're expecting. However, what you can often get in Formula One is the midfield battle. And if you support a driver or team, even if they're not winning, it can be interesting to watch what they're doing.
Oh.
So your argument of, I watch every single game in the Premier League.
I do though.
It's Premier League. Well,
it's competitive.
This is Formula One.
Yeah.
So every single, even if it's not the people winning, Man City dominate the Premier League. It's boring to watch Man City because every game you watch, you know Man City are going to win.
Well, clearly you haven't watched them this year. But
I'm using it as an example.
It's a bad example.
I don't know football. It's a bad example, but I don't know football. But it's also a bad example for you to say, I can justify watching every single game in the Premier League because it's top level sport. Formula One's the same. You might not need to watch or need to know about who's winning because it's Verstappen, but there could be lots of battles. And actually, I was listening to a podcast on the way back yesterday, which is the Bring Back V10s era, and somebody was talking about an article they wrote in 2004, I think, saying the 2004 Formula One season was actually amazing if you took Michael Schumacher out of it.
Okay, let me give you the clear difference between football and Formula One. And especially top-level football in the Premier League in general. Any team in the Premier League can beat anyone. In F1, that's not the case. They all, and especially like you're talking about mid-pack. Normally in F1, the fastest car wins. It's as simple as that. It's always been the case. The fastest car is the winner. And in F1, when you get mid-pack, you go, there's a bit of a duel here. But in the last few years, especially last year, they're getting a DRS train because they can all stay closer together. That doesn't happen in football. Anyone can beat anyone.
You get 0-0 draws, mate.
You do get 0-0 draws, but anyone can beat anyone. In F1, that's not the case. You never get Williams winning a Grand Prix.
You get Haas on pole in Brazil.
Did they win?
No,
exactly.
I'm with you. I totally get what you're saying. There's always can be these underdog stories in football, and you might go into it and Man City might be dominating the season, and then suddenly Wolverhampton come through and beat
they can
them.
lose. Yeah.
I totally get that, and I appreciate that. But that's one match for sure. I'm not going to deny you that. It's a fair point for sure. But what I would say is I think you can find things to be interested in or get excited about over a season within Formula One, even if there's a dominant driver. But it does ruin the spectacle. It does make it tough to get excited about especially if you don't support the dominant driver.
Yeah. I think you've got to really love the sport you to find that niche. I like watching it, but I'm not in love with it like you're in love with it. I'm in love with football. You're not in love with football.
No. I just literally watch the big games.
Exactly, because you're waiting for something to happen.
That's how I know Messi's crap. You never delivers in the big games. So it's my favourite way to wind up Tony.
Well, you don't wind me up.
Slag off Messi.
It's not. You can't slag him up.
Ronaldo's better.
You can't slag him off.
Yeah, okay.
He's completed football.
He's useless. Anyway, so let's wait and see. My prediction is, of course, as well, Verstappen will win. Behind that, I don't really know. I'm guessing Perez, Leclerc, or Perez Sainz. Yeah. It's hard to know exactly.
Who got second last year? I don't even know.
Leclerc won last year in the opening Grand Prix, didn't he?
No. Who got second in the championship last year?
Was it not Leclerc?
Did he get second or was it Perez?
I thought he got second in the end, Leclerc, didn't he?
Did he just pip second?
I'm pretty sure he finished the year happy. So this is how much I tuned out at the end of last year as well.
That's what I'm saying. We don't even know who finished second in the championship.
Seasons, results and standings. Yeah, Leclerc. Yeah.
And then Perez.
And then Perez pipped him by 3 points.
Fair. Oh yeah, because Verstappen wouldn't hold him up, wouldn't he? Didn't play ball with him.
Didn't play ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's wait and see. But I do think it's going to be a tough season ahead.
Is there going to be Monaco Grand Prix this year?
Yeah, always is.
So it's just a procession, just going to go round and round and round.
Yeah, aren't most races?
Just do every race there.
It's the sport I love. I've long had I figured out Monaco. What they should do. No. What Formula One should do moving forward to deal with Monaco.
Go on.
It should be an average. So 2 sessions. It's like aggregate qualifying. So basically, you've got to do 3 laps, and it's the average time of those 3 laps.
Fair.
So it's a little bit like the Indy 500 shootout.
Fair.
And you have 2 sessions. So because qualifying is amazing. Monaco qualifying is unbelievable.
Well, because that's how you win the race.
But no, because it is flat out. A Formula One car never looks quicker than flat out in Monaco.
Yeah.
Driver skill and precision.
Of course.
Precision is never put on display more than in Monaco.
Yeah, of course.
So if you could have that, imagine a full session, all 20 cars out on track, and you've got to nail 3 laps. Yeah. And your time is taken as the average of those 3 laps. That's going to encounter traffic. It's going to consistency. And then after the first session, half the grid is removed and just the final 10 cars go through to the second session. So you've got more chance of a clear run.
Yeah.
And you've got to maintain those speeds. And it's a super shootout. And it would still make it super exciting. You would still get all the on-track action. It would still have the spectacle. It would be super exhilarating. It would be super exciting. Who could maintain that concentration level? 4, and you have 3 sessions, and you have a top 3 of the final 3 battling it out for the podium. Anyway, that's my solution, because racing there is pointless.
Yeah, I agree.
But lap times is super impressive. Anyway, we're now starting to babble on about Formula One. I'll save that for the After Checkered Flag episode with Paul Wallace. So yeah, you've caught me right in the middle of a load of trips that I can't talk about, which is super bizarre. And I really apologise for that, but this isn't going to go on much longer. The rest of the year, hopefully, is going to be less embargoed and more organic, and we can tell you a bit more about what I'm up to. But if you do want to follow me on Instagram, I will be revealing some of my trip stuff. So that's at Seen Through Glass. If you want to follow Tony in the meantime, he's at Tony Gravelwood Car Sales on most social media platforms. And we'll be back with you for another live stream and another episode where hopefully I can tell you more about what I've been up to next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.